And welcome to Grandad's Reviews. This episode, I'm going to have a look at why I think now is a great time to get into digital photography, especially if you're on a tight budget. Because just recently, over the last 2 or 3 years, all the main manufacturers have produced and released some fantastic new cameras. And people like to upgrade. And so those older cameras that they've been using, even some professionals, even though they've used their cameras for longer, so they are well used, but they're coming onto the market and they're coming quite cheap. But what I thought I'd look at is some really old cameras that are really cheap. And what I'm going to look at first off is this, the Minolta Dynax 7D. This came out in 2005, and basically Minolta said, we've got this film camera, the Dynax 7, let's turn it into a digital camera. And so that's what they did. This camera is well built, got some weight to it. It's a semi-professional, professional kind of camera. It's what you'd have been using back in the day for weddings and such like. But I think for now, if you're just posting to social media like your Facebook or Instagram or anything like that, then this and cameras of this era are a good choice. Now this has got an amazing 6.1 megapixel CCD sensor in it, and it's also got IBIS, which is quite amazing for its age. Now, this is nearly 20 years old, so if you're looking to pick one up, you've got to be careful. They do have some issues, what's called first frame black, shutter sticking and such like. But if you get a good one, it should last you. And they use these fantastic A-mount lenses, and you can get Sony A-mount lenses as well. So you've got a good range of lenses, and they're pretty cheap. This camera, which is in lovely condition, cost £100. And some of the lenses you can pick up for £20–30. So you've got a cheap bit of kit. And if you're going to put it on social media, you won't tell the difference. And what I did is I went out with this camera, a Canon 7D Mark II with 20 megapixels, my Fuji Xe1 with 16 megapixels, and took the same shot with each camera with a similar focal length. I put them up on a Facebook group I'm a member of and asked people to vote for their favourites. Not technically, not pixel peeping, just looking at it and saying, yeah, I prefer that over the other. And the 6.1 megapixel Minolta got the most votes. I'll put the images up and you can have a look at what I did. So I think we'll have a closer look at this camera, a close look at what lenses we can get for them, and the images it produces. Because I think cameras of this age, which nobody really wants, because we want 6 megapixels, we want 8 megapixels. But for social media, you get some amazing results for next to no money. So let's go and have a look at this camera and what it can produce. So this is the Dynax 7D, Minolta's, or Konica Minolta's foray into digital cameras. It's got a 6.1 megapixel CCD in it. It's A mount. It's an extremely well built camera and it's really nice laid out. We've got on the top here exposure compensation. On this side you got the PASM dial. Underneath it we've got a dial for single shot continuous, which is 3 frames a second. You've got your 2 second and 10 second timer, and you've got your bracketing. You've got a white balance switch on the top here, so we've got auto white balance, program white balance, so that's like so you can pick daylight, tungsten or whatever. You've got custom white balance, and then you've got Kelvin as well, which you can flick with this. And the button layout on the back is brilliant as well. We've got an AF MF button, so we can turn from AF to manual focus with one button. Got a rear dial. Also got metering there, so we've got center weighted, matrix and spot with an AE lock button. We've got a D-pad here for your AF, so with it set there we can pick one of the 9 AF positions, and if you press the D-pad and hold it, it will focus with that press, and obviously the middle one. Once you've picked an AF point, you can lock it so it won't move no matter what, or you can hold all of this button and the camera will decide which one to pick, and you can still pick one with that. This button here is the memory set, so you can memorize a set of settings, or you can use it as a shortcut to a menu page. ISO button and IBIS on and off, but it's a well built pro camera. Got a CF card slot on there, USB, and on this side we've got PC port, DC in, and then a remote. So that's a look at the camera. I say it uses all A mount lenses, which are fantastic. We'll have a look at some of the A mount lenses you can get for this camera, well the ones I've got anyway, and then we'll just have a quick look at the image quality and what you can expect from such a small megapixel camera. So here we have some of the A mount lenses that I own for both my Minolta cameras. This is, as I would say, a nifty 50, and it's the 1.7, lovely well made lens, metal with a little bit of plastic, nice metal mount. You can see the drive screw for the AF, so the actual AF motor's in the body of the cameras, not the lens, so the lens can be quite light for what it is. It's got a proper focusing ring. Just, yeah, great little lens. Now you must remember that the 7D, the digital version of the camera, is a crop sensor, an APS-C, so you're adding a 1.5 crop to it, so this 50 becomes a 75. Next we've got the 28 2.8, same kind of construction, mainly metal, a little bit of plastic, proper focusing ring and a proper scale, and we've got the depth of field markings as well on there, so we can do some hyperfocal focusing, or hyperfocal distance focusing should I say. So put in the infinity at f16, setting f16 on your camera, you've got from basically 3 foot to infinity in focus. Another well made nice wide angle. Next we get into some zooms. So this is the 35 to 70 f4, so f4 all the way through the focal range. Got a nicely damped zoom ring. We've got a focus scale again, got proper focusing. Comes with this small hood, all metal mount again, as you can see. It's also got a macro feature, so when you get to 70 it stops, push the lever in then you can get into this macro. It isn't one-to-one macro, but it's quite useful. Another well built basically the same as the primes. Another excellent little lens. Now we're getting to what they call the beer can style zooms. That's because it looks kind of like a beer can. And this is the 28 to 85, and it's a 3.5 to 4.5 aperture on this. Smooth zoom, and it's got that macro feature that the other lens had as well. The well-built metal lens, but it's got some weight to it. That's a heavy lens, that is. It's got a real weight to it. Now we're getting into more of the kit type lens that you would get with the camera. Built-in cap, which is quite handy. Zoom is a bit not as smooth. Still got a metal mount, and the focusing ring is yeah, just about usable. Quite cheaply made, but not bad. Gives some good results. Say f4 to 5.6. Say this is the 35 to 80. So it does give some reasonable results. And it's a nice lightweight lens, nice to carry around. Here we have the other kit lens type lens it could have got with your camera. It's an 80 to 200. This one's a bit smoother, not perfectly smooth, but a bit smoother. And again, we've got a silly focusing ring on that, and this is a 4.5 to 5.6 with the inbuilt hood, cap, lens cap. Still got a metal mount, plastic and quite light, but no, it's again a reasonable lens. Now we get into a bigger zoom lens, slightly better build quality. This is the 100 to 300, 4.5 to 5.6. Zoom ring is reasonably smooth, and at least you've got a reasonable focus ring as well that works quite well, makes a noise. Get a switch, and that's focus lock, but you can change it to other things in the camera settings, but straight out of the box it's a focus lock, so if you autofocus on something then press that, it will stay there, it won't refocus. Metal mount, fair bit of weight, and reasonable image quality. Not the highest best, but pretty good. Comes with a nice lens hood. And we got this one. This is the Konica Minolta. Oh yes, when I moved over to Konica, it's all plastic. This is the 18 to 70. It's a 3.5 to 5.6, so not a very fast one. Plastic mount, very light. Focusing ring's okay. You can use the hood. Zoom ring's not bad, but it's designed for the crop sensor, so digital. So not bad, not a bad little lens. If you just want a bit more of a wide angle. Then a lens to avoid. This is the Power Zoom 35 to 80. It's an f4 to 5.6. It hasn't really got a focusing ring, and it doesn't zoom. You can focus by wire. So you pull that back and that's focusing, and that's zooming, or you can use the outer ring. Plastic mount. The image quality is pretty soft with this lens. And zooming with the power zoom is, yeah, not the smoothest and nicest experience. So if you can avoid it, I'd avoid this little lens. It takes photos and that's about it. So that's my look at my Minolta lens collection. Now let's see what the image quality is like. So, what can we say about Minolta 7D? Well, 6.1 megapixels. Seeing the images, social media, they're fantastic. In fact, for anything, they're fantastic. The CCD produces some beautiful colours. There's just something special about the old CCDs that's not the same as the CMOS one sensors we got now. I think if you want to get into digital photography really cheap, looking at these older cameras can be a benefit. Okay, they're not good for everything. You're not going to do wildlife or sports. You can if you want to, but you've not got that croppability of the larger megapixel cameras. But if you just want it for social media, taking photos of the children, putting them on Facebook and that kind of thing, picking something up like this, learning how to use it, because you'll learn a lot more using something like this than the latest, or singing or dancing, which the latest cameras near enough do everything for you. Focus on the eye, track everything. If you learn how to use one of these, you'll learn about exposure, composition, and how to use the autofocus properly. And if you want to move up to the later cameras, you'll have a head start. And I think for a cheap way to get into digital photography, looking at these older cameras, whether it's Minolta or Canon or Nikon or something like that, is a fantastic way to start, and some really nice lenses as well. So that's my look at the Minolta 7D as a first camera, as a everyday camera. It's something, a camera I use quite a lot. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and hit that like button. That helps the channel. And until next time, see you later.